Hey everybody, it's Ryan Gromfin here, author, speaker, chef, restaurateur, and the founder of the restaurantboss.com as well as restaurantcoachingclub.com. And today, after what was an absolutely pathetic Super Bowl and quite boring to watch, commercials were okay, I would say at best, which is really the main reason why I watch football. But I have a question for you. After watching that game last night, I sat down and I thought about it for a minute. And when I came into the office this morning, I wanted to film this quick video because I have this question. Is your restaurant a Seahawk or a Bronco? And I don't mean this by winners or losers. I mean by the way they played the game. And let me show you a little bit about what I'm talking about. And when I show you that, I want to talk about something I call the ultimate restaurant success formula, which is basically a 5-step process that I believe is the ultimate restaurant success formula. And it starts with vision and belief, followed by preparation and strategy, consistent execution. Are you measuring results? And are you tweaking the path? And let me explain this in terms of the football game last night. Whether are you a Seahawk or a Bronco? Obviously, in case you were out of town or don't have access to a television or live in a cave and don't talk to anyone, the Seahawks destroyed the Broncos 43-8, I believe was the final score. I wasn't paying much attention to most of the game. But let's look at this in terms of the game last night. Vision or belief. I don't know if you caught throughout the game how many times Russell Wilson, the quarterback for the Seahawks, was saying actually at the end of the game, or the commentators kept mentioning, his father would always say to him, "Why not you? Why not you?" And Russell Wilson said at the end of the game that his theme for the whole season was, why not us? Why not me? Why not us? And he would say that before every single football game of the year to his team. Why not us? See, they had a clear vision. That was to be the Super Bowl champions, and they believed it. They said, why not us? Well, preparation and strategy. Do you know that when Russell Wilson was eliminated, when the Seahawks were eliminated in last year's playoffs, he went and bought a ticket and went to the Super Bowl game last year. And as difficult as that must have been, he said he went because he wanted to see what it was like. He wanted to feel the excitement. He wanted to feel the adrenaline. He put himself in the shoes of the quarterbacks in every play and said, what would I do? How would I handle this? What would I do different? What else do I need to do to prepare for this? And he watched closely. He got to the game, he said, 4 hours early to see what the teams were doing to prepare, how they were handling the pressure, what they were doing to calm themselves down. And he was putting himself in that state. He was preparing himself for when he would ultimately be there. He didn't know he would get his chance this year, coming up a year later, but he was preparing himself for it. And then he took that experience throughout the season into the game. You know, and then we also talk about strategy, which falls under preparation. If you were paying attention to any of the pregame interviews throughout the last couple of weeks, if you notice the theme that I picked up on, at least, I noticed that the coach for the Seahawks, Pete Carroll, kept talking about how they were adjusting their game, about how they were watching videos and films and preparing for Peyton Manning's offense. It was the #1 rated offense throughout the year, and arguably, some people say maybe one of the best offenses that's ever played in the game, or at least Peyton Manning for that season. So Pete Carroll was preparing for it. They were watching game tapes. They knew that Peyton Manning took every play down to the last 1 or 2 seconds. He was constantly calling audibles, so they were practicing in their defense of how to get ready for those audibles. When offense was moving, defense was moving. They were getting ready for every play. However, Coach Fox for the Broncos, I wasn't noticing the same thing. He just kept saying, we're going to go out and play our game. We're going to go out and do what we've done all season long that's gotten us here. Well, a little bit different strategy there, and we see the results. Consistent execution. I talk about this all the time. If you were in your backyard and you were digging a hole and you found some oil in it, some people would just keep digging and digging and digging until they get all that oil out of that hole. Well, that's what the oil companies do. Other people would say, wow, that's great. I got a little bit of oil. Let's try this, or let's try that. Or they would go dig a hole in a different place. I think what you saw in the game last night was the Seahawks were consistently executing their strategy. They knew what was working, and they kept doing it over and over again. I don't think we saw the same thing out of Denver. I think Denver was scrambling a little bit because they didn't have that strategy going into the game. which leads us to measuring results. I was very fortunate about 12 or 13 years ago when I was very young. I got invited onto the field at a Dallas Cowboys Pittsburgh Steelers game by someone on the Steelers, and I was actually working with the offensive and defensive coordinators, and they have a printer on the field that prints out every single play at the snap and 5 seconds into the play, and they're in real time reviewing that information as it's coming through. And I know that both teams had access to that kind of technology. The question is which team was using it, which team wasn't. Were they measuring their results? And then were they tweaking their path? Again, once you have all of these results, you see what's working and what isn't working. The Seahawks knew what was working and what wasn't working. They kept running the same plays over and over again. I don't know if you saw that reverse that they ran at the beginning of the game. Well, they ran that reverse 5 or 6 other times because every time it worked. They were measuring their results and they were tweaking the path. So again, I have this question, is your restaurant a Seahawk or a Bronco? Well, let's go back and look at these one more time. Do you have a vision and a belief in your restaurant that you and your entire team subscribe to and believe in? Do you prepare and strategize for every situation, or are you just kind of willy-nilly going through and hoping that things are going to work out in your restaurant? Do you have a marketing strategy? Do you have a training strategy? Do you have a food costing and a beverage costing strategy? Do you have a customer getting strategy? And how are you preparing for those strategies? And then again, the consistent execution. We talk about consistency in restaurants all the time. How consistent is your restaurant operationally? And are you consistently executing your strategy? Or are you just kind of, again, willy-nilly going through the motions of things? And then measuring results. How strong is your accounting? When I talk about accounting, I don't necessarily mean preparing that end of year statement just to pay taxes with, which most of us are going through right now. I'm talking about measuring results, measuring your menu mix, measuring your bar mix, measuring how many customers come into your restaurant, what they order, your marketing results. For every dollar you spend on marketing, how many dollars are you getting back? We're talking about measuring those results and then tweaking the path. What's working, what's not working? Once you're measuring those results, are you analyzing your data on a regular basis to see, is this working or is this working? Or this seems to be working better than this, let's work on that. So again, these are what I consider these ultimate restaurant success formula. I think we saw how it related to the football game last night and the results that one team got, the Seahawks over the other team. And so again, is your restaurant a Seahawk or a Bronco? If you feel like you're doing everything that we talked about earlier and you're seeing the success in your restaurant and things are going well for you, fantastic. I'm proud of you. But if you feel a little bit like the Broncos did last night, you're a little stuck, a little frustrated, putting in the hard work. I know all of you guys out there, restaurant owners and managers, are putting in the work and putting in the hours. I was myself when I was out there in the business. Hell, I still do. I put in a ton of hours with this business. It's something that I absolutely love to do. But if you're waking up in the middle of the night, or if you get the butterflies when you think about the bills coming in or driving to your restaurant in the morning or something that you've got coming up, I want to help you out. And in honor of the Super Bowl game last night and that huge disappointment, and I know the pain that the Broncos are going through, the pain that some of you guys are going through right now, I'm going to extend the special offer. I want to help you guys out there. So anyone who sends me an email in the next, let's say today's Monday, anyone who sends me an email by Thursday, let's say, of this week, telling me the number one problem, fear, concern, pain, struggle, challenge you're having in your restaurant, let's set up a time, let's get together, let's get on the phone, let's spend 20 or 30 minutes together and see if I could help you out there. I'm pretty certain I can. Everyone that I get on the phone with, we can usually put together a really great strategy pretty quickly and see some great results from that. So again, reach out to me. My email address is just ryan@therestaurantboss.com. That's RYAN@therestaurantboss.com. Otherwise, I hope you keep watching these videos wherever you're watching this from. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, just click on this big gray button here and you'll get instantly updated every time I post a new video and post new training. Or if you're watching this on my blog or on YouTube or on someone else's blog, there's always going to be a spot for you to comment below. Please do write anything you want. Ask me some questions. I check every single one of those comments. It may take me a couple of days, but I do get back to everyone out there. I hope you guys all enjoyed the Super Bowl. The game I know wasn't great, but the commercials were entertaining as usual. My personal favorite was the Radio Shack commercial. I thought that was great. And then the Clydesdale commercial, the Budweiser one with the little puppy, the golden retriever that was climbing out under the fence, and the big Clydesdale. It was just an adorable commercial. It always gets my heartstrings with those. Hope you guys absolutely have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for the time. This has been Ryan Gromfin.